The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes! There we go!
Hey!
The Bhoycie bus is here. It's a champions Bhoycie bus.
Yes.
And tonight I am joined by three champions in their own right. Phil McGinley, you'll be sick of the sight of him. I'm sick of the sight of him. He's sick of the sight of me. It's brilliant. Terry, the face now of post-match pish. And Paul McFarlane making his second appearance, second of many, may I add. Gentlemen, how the devil are you?
All good.
Doing Bhoycie.
Absolutely champion, mate. Feeling champion.
Oh, champions. See, I like that. Now, people are talking about, will we be able to do it this season? Ange Poster, who Russell Boyce is very much in the corner of. Not quite sure about this one, guys. Think he's got a checkered past. Trophy laden, might not add up. I stand by, always questioning the narrative when I felt guys like Dan Orlovich and stuff were gushing about 4-4 draws as opposed to 1-0 wins. However, ladies and gentlemen, this man has came. He has delivered already. What the title this year wasn't even. Yeah, it was the priority, but it was an unlikely priority. I would say so far. And what we've done so far is like in a transitional season, is the team's adapting to Ange's style. But we're also delivering as we go. Yeah, it's not a treble, but you know what? Trebles are meant to be, things that we strive for, things that happen every now and then. It's not our fault we turned them in to the norm. Terry, I'll come at you first, mate. How did you feel yesterday when you knew at full time Celtic had won the league?
Well, you could still argue we still haven't won it yet. if you want to go down that route, I can remember. I can remember the 2003 season. I think it was when Rangers scored 6 at home to Dunfermline on the last day, and when you watch the highlights later that day, there was no goalkeeper in view on 4 of the 6 goals. So in Scotland, anything can happen. I think we're pretty safe. I'm calm. I'm not one of these guys who needs to go mad, and I can celebrate inside. I can enjoy the feeling it gives me inside. I don't need to get my phone out and start texting all the Rangers fans I know and start giving them stick. I can enjoy it myself. I think it was really fitting that We all but got over the line against Hearts, which is the team that the journey started against the night we were written off. The first game of the season, we lost the game.
I like that.
Ange was a joke character. This team wasn't even going to finish in the top 3 and all this kind of stuff. So I think it was fitting that it was Hearts again. I think the golf in class yesterday kind of epitomizes the journey that we've been on from that first game of the season. We lost a goal early doors. Yeah, kind of a little bit, I just felt as soon as we get level, we're back in. I can't even concentrate.
Terry, I used to think Keely fancied me, right? See, what I've realised is that was all a lie. It was a myth, a lie. It's you, mate. You are the apple of Keely Gock's eye. Her husband Brian's already came in and said, "Bhoycie, why have you put Terry on it? You don't get fuck all tonight."
Anyway, going back to the game.
Sorry, was it a game? Sorry.
Obviously, a slight setback at the start. I do want to throw in a quick story. My old fellow was at the game yesterday, so he was away early. 12 o'clock kickoff. The guys going over here from the boat on Saturday morning. They need everything just to be perfect to get there for 12 o'clock kickoff. They didn't. Security checks, which can sometimes happen when the Celtic games are on. The security checks can take a little bit longer. So they were delayed. There was a half-hour delay on the boat sailing, which knocked everything back by half an hour. He got into the ground 7 minutes after kickoff, him with his pal Hugh. And they didn't realise Hearts had scored. And he watched the whole game. Wherever he was sitting, he couldn't see the scoreboard. So he left the ground thinking it was 4-0. It was only when he was halfway back to Ireland that he realised Hearts had been ahead at the start of the game. He heard a few people talking about the Hearts goal, and it looked as if it was offside. And he's going, "What are you guys on about?" Like, he thought everybody was drunk or something. He just didn't realise that Hearts had even scored. So enjoyable day for those guys. Enjoyable, good watch. We obviously knew we were going to get over the line eventually. It was just a really, really comprehensive performance, really enjoyable.
Well, we'll do a shout out to your boys as well, by the way, because it is some effort that they go to. But it is funny when you put it in a Celtic sense, what you're watching on the pitch. Celtic were a goal down yesterday, Phil.
They were.
It is hard to remember that because the performance I seen yesterday was a performance of the definition, I would say, of what we've came to expect of this championship winning team. That to me was a template, if you like. You were seeing it, prime example of how Ange wants to play. Yesterday was that. And do you know what I like about it is the fact that they were a goal down, still just played the same way. As we always talk about, he won't change his style, yada, yada. And at times it can frustrate you, whatever. But yesterday it worked because you know what happened after 10, 15 minutes? Hearts ran out of puff. This is like, you like your wrestling analogies, right? So I'll indulge you for a change, right? So back in 2001, I think it was 2000, it was Triple H, The Rock, and it was called an Iron Man match. 60 minutes, Rock. Can you hang? Can you hang? That's what Triple H kept saying.
Yep.
You look at it now and you go, that's brilliant. Hey, do you know what? You got to go. Fair dues. Can you hang? Can you go 90 minutes of pressing us? I don't think so. Whereas we've got guys at Meada who are going, "Oh, do you not get extra time in the league?" I'm up for extra time. These guys have engines now. And I think we're seeing that Ange style has been slowly and slowly as the seasons went on. They're all getting accustomed to it. They're all getting fitter. They're all getting hungrier as well, by the way. They're all getting hungrier. See when we faced adversity at the beginning of this season, I think head sunk a wee bit. See now, it's get the ball at the net, get it to that halfway line. Let's just go again. I thought yesterday we encapsulated all the good things we've seen this season from Postecoglou's side, Phil.
Aye, the first thing that I thought when we went behind really early was to a degree similar to what happened at Ibrox a few weeks ago, where we didn't really get settled in the first few minutes. We got on a goal down, but what happened that day? We just kept playing our game and we just chipped away at it, and eventually we got ourselves back in front. I mean, yeah, the game as well, like, there was that sort of, once they did score, there was a wee bit of nerves in the crowd, because again, we're getting that close. Every week time I've been on this show, I always feel like I keep saying, we're getting this close, we're so close, and I just want it over the line. So I could understand there was a wee bit of tension in the crowd, but similar again to Ibrox, where Callum McGregor, got on the ball and did that run into the box. That first goal that we scored yesterday, it was literally Jota just picked up the ball on the halfway line and was like, nobody is getting in my way, getting to that goal. I'm pretty sure another Celtic player runs across his path and he literally like get in my way, because he knocks it round him, runs around, just keeps him going, puts a great ball across, Maeda scores. And once that went in, yeah, the momentum was just with us, and Hearts just, they couldn't hang, as you said there, Ellen. They just couldn't hang. And yeah, once we got in front, that there was no danger at all. When you look back on it, even though there may have been a wee bit of nerves in there, Hearts didn't do anything other than the goal in the first couple of minutes. It's one of those, the time you feel a wee bit nervy. Oh, they might get back in. They had a wee flurry in the second half, a bunch of corners and free kicks. Ultimately, they weren't even close. And the relief, I think, I felt more relief when Giakoumakis' goal went in, because that was just a great moment. Because we love big chaos here on the bus, man. We absolutely love them.
We do.
It was a great moment, and the lap on at the end, man. Oh my God. The noise when Ange was coming round and giving it all the chest thumping and stuff. That roar, fucking incredible, man. Can't wait for next week, man. I'm so excited to see Ange Postecoglou lift that trophy. Like, he deserves it so much. So much.
No, Phil, I think you've covered a lot of bases there, and I think you make a lot of sense what you're saying. And it's nice to see you having a beer on stage.
I know, I'm always drinking water, but today I've got beer, because we've won it.
Aye, it's a toast to the champions, ladies and gentlemen.
As indeed, a toast to the champs.
Champs. Terry, yes. Don't you kid on, you're not having a Guinness. Hey! Paul, I'm going to come to you because there was a lot, as I say, that Phil covered there. One of the interesting points was you felt relief when Giakoumakis scored. I bizarrely felt relief when Giakoumakis came on. And I know this is not, by the way, us just like refusing to move from a position that we said months ago that he was the number one striker, yada yada. It's actually got fuck all to do with it. Genuinely, I think when he comes on, Celtic are a better football team now. Now,
definitely.
That doesn't mean there's no Kyogo involved, by the way. That far from it. Kyogo's too good a player not to have in your team. But I think we're going to need to find a way to accommodate both Kyogo and Giakoumakis. Now, if we rewind, Paul, 8 months, you look at that first time finish by Giakoumakis, let's flip that into that being Kyogo 8 months ago at the start of the season. It's a different argument. That would be getting rave reviews. I think it was an underrated finish what he did. And yet again, he shows his hunger for it even when he's not starting. He's got a real professionalism, a real appetite as well for playing for Celtic. I think we've got a wonderful dilemma on our hands with these two that I think the only way to be solved will be by finding a way to have them both in the starting 11. What do you make of that?
I've always thought, like we say about chaos, the name says all. The minute he came on, that's what he caused. We needed that at the end of that game to finish that game off, because Hearts and the referee, okay, I'm going to admit it, and the referee did not want us to settle in that game. When the minute he came on, that was it. The game was finished. But I genuinely think we can get all four in that team. I've said it all along in the comments as well, that Jota's two-footed. Jota could always slip back into the midfield. He could always sit as an attacking midfielder. But if he wanted to stick to that 4-3-3.
That's the best bit. Matt O'Reilly yesterday, I thought, had maybe his best game ever in the Celtic shirt yesterday.
Yeah.
Tom Rogic was nominated for Player of the Year. Which one of them are you taking out?
I would actually. Well, there's been times when we've said about Hatate and his fitness. Mm-hmm. So why not rest Hatate sometimes, move O'Reilly over the other side, and put Jota in O'Reilly's position? We've got different options. That's what I love about it now. That's what I love about this season.
Paul, this is the reason I'm asking it. I'm not being pushy, by the way. The reason I'm asking is I'm highlighting the wonderful options we've got. All being developed, Terry, by Ange Postecoglou. Let's be honest here. Matt O'Reilly was a signing from MK Dons. Now, again, I like to flip it, as you know. Neil Lennon signs player from MK Dons last season for £1.2 million. You take the piss, mate. Is that going to win us the league? Ange Postecoglou does it, and yet again, he's not even striking gold anymore. Because you know what it is? his actual success rate of transfers, Terry, has shown, firstly, how important recruitment is, and secondly, what you can do with very little money.
He's earned the trust. So yeah, as you say, previous managers have gone out and made that signing would have been met with the same positivity.
No.
I mean, to be fair to the lad O'Reilly, he's come in, he's looked impressive. Kind of forget how young he is. He is only 21.
21.
I'm looking forward. I think he's got a lot more to come, to be honest. I think if I was to describe what I think of him at the moment, I think he looks good. He looks good in flashes. I just wonder when he gets more settled in and more accustomed to surroundings and playing in front of a huge crowd, can he really go take a game by the scruff of the neck and dominate a game, dictate a game, much in the same way as I suppose Cal Mack kind of does for us at the moment. But going back to Ange, yeah, I think Ange's success rate is, I mean, is there any really that you could say haven't worked out? Probably the ones that people would point to would be the same ones that people have maybe thought weren't Ange signings to begin with. Ideguchi, yeah, hasn't done a great deal. That's probably one where we're kind of the jury's out on. We'll see what happens with that. But I think he's earned the trust. If Ange goes and signs somebody now, I don't think anybody's going to question it, no matter where they come from or how much they cost.
So, how powerful a position does that put the manager in this summer? Because the board have to accept that they've won a watch with Ange, first and foremost, because he's won a title back in his first attempt, right? But secondly, they'll go, we've not actually, for the volume of players brought in. Now, this is what happens. The other side want to go, spend 25 million, sir. We brought in 12 players. So let's even say Celtic just spent 25 million, let alone the fact we brought in around 30 million in sales. We've spent 25 million on 12 players in the summer. That's an average of what, £2 million each, just over 2 million. That's not a lot. That's not even then not a lot of money, let alone if you're letting 13 million pound players out the door. But what Ange has done now is he's built up his credit. His bank, mate, his credit bank, Terry, is looking sweet. He can now go to that board and as you just touched on there, let's be honest. The next player he suggests, it doesn't matter what league they're from, they've got to bow to his demands, Terry, don't they?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know even if our board probably expected to be in this position so quickly. And as you say, Ange has now got the power. And I just hope we don't get to that kind of point where we got to with Brendan, where Ange starts to flex his muscles, the board don't back it, and then things start to go downhill in that relationship. That would be the worst thing. That would be the worst thing that could happen now, is that they start to piss the guy off, because he's come in, he's shown what he can do with the budget that he's been given. You know, he's going to want to kick on, and depending what players he wants to bring in, how much they're going to cost, the board are going to have a decision. Do we move with this, or do we do what we've always done and hold back? And I just hope they back him. I mean, the relationship that Ange has got with the fans, he's united the club from where we were last summer. This one person has just come in from the far side of the world. He's united everybody from board to supporter base, players, the whole thing.
On his own?
Yeah, on his own. And they've got to back him. They just have to give him whatever he wants.
I think, Terry, what you're saying there is fascinating, because I think he goes in now to that. Say it was like you have to walk into the direct. Imagine them being like a panel, like the X Factor or whatever. You know what I mean? You've got to walk in. You've got to sell it, mate. Right? He's walking in there. He's not singing Evergreen. He's talking about an Evergreen Celtic future, and he is walking in there just going, "All right, here's the trophies beside me. There's the list of players beside me. There's the net spend. Oh, wait there now. You've made money off me so far. There's the rewards for what I've achieved so far, i.e. 40 million, or the bones of 40 million, whatever you want to call it. What are you going to now do, firstly, to keep me? That's how I would play it if I was Ange. He doesn't need to show loyalty to Celtic. Wim Jansen left after this season, and we've seen hallmarks of the Jansen era, Phil, this season. Don't piss this big man off, put it that way. I think he's shown enough so far that he really does believe in his own notions. He's not swayed by anyone. He is very much a man of his own convictions, I should say. And I think Ange right now has a stronger hand to deal than anyone at Celtic. Vital Celtic News comes in, a partner of ours now. And he says, I've written about this before, so Ange is now the most powerful man at Celtic. I think that's true. Because what Teddy was talking about was the fan base uniting. The fans in Celtic have never been further apart than what they were. I think it's actually meant to be forgotten almost. And that's kudos to Ange, that he's almost made Sharkgate and stuff like that seem like they were a million years ago, not just 12 months ago.
Yeah.
Phil, how strong a hand does Ange Postecoglou have at Celtic now? How far should we back him?
Mate, whatever he wants, he gets. You're talking about him going in there and speaking to the board. He doesn't need to say any words. He just needs to walk in and just look at the trophies, just be making his hand towards the trophies what he's delivered. I saw a clip today when it was announced he won the Football Writers Manager of the Year. That PLZ Soccer had posted like a 7-8 second clip. It's just him with a plaque that says Manager of the Year. Doesn't say any words. He just looks at it and then looks at the camera, then back at it again. Doesn't he say anything? The message is right there. The same if he walked in. The same if he walked into that board. Doesn't he say anything to them? Just like what I've done. Right there, so he can get whatever he wants. And see, when it comes to the whole staff thing, like doing it himself, I think the big man loves a challenge. I think there probably would have been an option at the start about him. Maybe they might have said we might get a couple of people in. I think he might himself would have just been like, no, I'll do it myself. I think he believes. I think he genuinely believes in himself. And if there was an option put to him, I think he'd have been like, no, I genuinely choose the challenge. And now he's proved it because he's put himself in a hugely powerful position. He holds all the cards right now. So we'll see what comes in the summer. But yeah, he should get whatever he wants. And what Terry says, it's like, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Brendan Rodgers' name came up, the whole John McGinn saga. That was the first crack. Any player that he goes in and says, this is a guy that's going to add to our team and give us the quality we need, the board need to listen to him and get it done as quickly as possible.
Paul, do you subscribe to that? I know Monty keeps coming in the comments saying, oh, Paul, talk to Paul. If you don't notice, Monty, I do a round robin round everyone. This is now the second lap of the group. Paul was the third that came to the first time round, so he's the third when I come to the second time round. But you keep me right in those comments, Monty. I know you're not feeling too well, mate, but let me do my job. I'm here to help. Paul's not being dinged in any way, shape, or form. Are you, Paul?
No.
You come in now, though, and let us know what you think. How do we deal with Ange Postecoglou this summer? Because he's not going to be a manager. Remember, by the way, as well, this is the scary bit. He's on a rolling contract right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he were to go, we wouldn't even get any compensation for him or anything. Now, Tottenham Hotspur, for example, in England right now have, to me, an elite manager, Conte. Conte only signed till the end of the season, right? With an option, I think, for another year, some bullshit like that. They've got to do now whatever they can to keep him, and he's achieved F all. We've got a guy who is going to come with a body of evidence of what he can achieve, what he has achieved, and what he will achieve. Now, how do we make sure that Ange's future is secure at Celtic? This isn't me saying he's going to leave or he wants to leave, by the way. I'm not saying it like that. I just think Celtic right now need to make this as ambitious a club as I think what Ange's vision for the club will be. And I think what Terry was alluding to is very true. Brendan Rodgers got too big for Celtic. But did he? Or did Brendan Rodgers believe in what Celtic could become and Celtic didn't believe in what Celtic could become? I happen to subscribe to the second view there. We have to this time, if Ange thinks we can make an impact, whether it be Europe, win another quadruple treble, whatever it is Ange's vision for this club is, we've got to back him in.
Of course we have. It's just like Phil and Terry said there. Brendan Rodgers, even though I don't like talking about him, as you all know, I honestly think he would have stayed even longer. Never mind going to the Premiership, he would have stayed even longer if the board had backed him. That was one of the main reasons that he left, was because they didn't give him an extra $100,000 to get John McGinn. And he also wanted another player from abroad to come. They wouldn't give him the money for that. He said if he'd got those two players to add to the squad that he had, he would have went further in Europe. He didn't get that, so he left. Fair enough. Worst way, well, he left, right enough. But I understand that he would have stayed here.
I always think, Paul, that history will be kind to Brendan Rodgers. I think we'll look back at it, and such has been even the next appointment we made, with it being Neil Lennon, showed how far the club's ambitions had fallen and how short they were always going to be for a guy who, whether we like it or not, was the manager of Liverpool before he came to Celtic. See, when you get these guys in, you've got to give them the backing. See, when you do invincible seasons, you've got to give them the backing in Europe. And I think what Ange's managed to achieve this year is a miracle, I would call it. I would call it a miracle. 30 league games we are right now, unbeaten with 2 still to play. And I think we will go unbeaten in the last 2. And then, you look at seasons. After 6 games, we were 3 wins, 3 defeats. But then you say 32 unbeaten. This guy's taking Celtic to a different place. But he has to be back to do it, Paul, doesn't he?
Of course he does, all the way. He has to. It's like we always said with Brendan Rodgers. He won the treble. Where did he go next? He got an invincible treble. Where did he go next? He kept on winning trebles. The next stage after that was doing well in Europe. But it's like you said, the board didn't match his ambitions. So basically, it's coming now to the stage with Ange now.
Yeah. Do you think Ange joined the club just for domestic success? I've got a feeling he was brought in to have European success, mate.
I think Ange joined this club. The domestic success for Ange was the foundations of the club. I think Ange basically came here to give us European success. That's his main goal. That's it. And I'm not talking about the Europa League, the so-called Mickey Mouse Trophy. I'm talking about the big one. Ange wants to come here and get us to that final, or at least close to it. And if he's ever going to leave here, he wants to leave us in better condition than when he came here.
I think when it comes down to it, Terry, what attracted Ange Postecoglou to Celtic? See, the J League in its own right over there, pretty prestigious title to win. Japan and all that, like the commercial deal. There's a lot of attention on that league, probably more so than the SPFL at times, I would argue, in their own continent, as opposed to, over here. I don't like winning the league or winning the Scottish title is why Ange came here. I think the battle, yes, very much. Ange is on board, Terry. But you don't think he's came here to take Celtic to a different place? I think this is, as he talks about, apparently his second seasons are always better. I think we're witnessing phase 1 kind of maybe happen a wee bit earlier than predicted, but we take it all the same. I think phase 2 is, and by the way, I'm going to say it, the success across the city in Europe has been startling. It's been remarkable. And whether we like it or not, that's petty stuff. That's fine. And by the way, I don't like it either. Gives me a wee sicky feeling in my tummy too. I'm not going to down talk it. It's fair. It's decent. Do you not think Ange is watching that going, well, I can do that. I can do that. Give me what I need. I can do that. And maybe even now we know we're going to the grandest stage of all, Terry, next year now. We are in the Champions League groups, mate. I think Postecoglou, with the right tools, given at the right time, i.e. as soon as the season finishes, there's the keys, bring in the players like we did in January. What are your hopes for what Ange Postecoglou can achieve with this team?
I think just from what we hear from Ange from he's arrived, I am pretty certain he'll not be wanting to go into that competition to be embarrassed.
No.
He will want to go in there with the same attitude that he took Australia to the World Cup. He'll be going in there with, as silly as it sounds, he will want to win the competition. I mean, from my perspective, I think I always look at the Champions League group. If we can get third place, I look at that as being a success, and you continue on in Europe beyond Christmas. The guys across the city, I've struggled with that for a few days, and I suppose I've kind of relaxed myself on it a little bit today because there's absolutely nothing Celtic can do to influence that. The only time we can influence what happens with those guys is in the matches we play against them. And I think the very first time I come on the bus was in and around the time where they were playing Dortmund, and I did make a prediction at that stage that whilst I didn't see them getting to the final of this competition, I could see them getting through the qualifiers if they were runners-up. I could see them getting through the qualifiers and getting into the
Big
Champions
time.
League through that route. But again, looking more on Celtic, there's probably question marks around whether Ange's style of play will be too open. A little bit like Brendan, where we were on the wrong end of a couple of absolute tannins.
We were.
Whereas Rangers' more pragmatic approach seems to be better suited to the European scene. They sit in, they keep it tight, they hit on the break, that kind of thing.
But they scored 4 goals in Dortmund.
Yeah, they did, absolutely.
I
don't think Ange's going to. He's not going to change his approach. If I was to try and predict what I think is going to happen, again, based on previous experience, I reckon as soon as this season finishes, he's going to have 2-3 names, maybe 4 names lined up. He's going to want to get them in as early as possible, get them bedded in, and give it a real go. My own thoughts on the transfer market this summer. I think if we get Carter Vickers and Jota, I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe only brought in another 2. I suppose it depends on who goes out. But if we were bringing in 2 real quality on top of those 2 on permanent deals, I think that wouldn't be a bad summer, to be honest. I suppose last year was a little bit different. We had to get bodies in. We had to have enough players to fill out the squad. I would hope that this year it's going to be about quality. And again, it just comes down to the bit then. I suppose a bit like Odsonne Edouard. If Ange comes in here, if Ange walks in and says, look, there's a player, I want him, he's going to cost 10, he's going to cost 11, are the board going to back that? They back Brendan with Edouard. At what point are we going to break that 10 million barrier? Could we do it? Could we get 1 player in at that price? Could we get 2 in? We're not going to get anywhere with if we go back to the old approach of just scattergun £2 million players here and there. I know the guys that Ange just brought in from Japan. There's been some great bargains there, but we are going to have to speculate a little bit here to make any inroads on this Champions League.
I think that's the thing right now. We're looking at the 2 loan signings becoming permanent. I think it's crucial because, Phil, let's focus now on the current team. A team that yesterday were, in my opinion, you were at the game, of course. Paul was at the game. Inspired by a certain Portuguese wizard who seems to have found his form again. And I think, realistically, if we reflect, he never dropped off as much as is getting made out. I think, but for some reason, there was this mad narrative for 2 months, guys. I don't know if you agree with this, that we had to make a choice. Who do you want to sign permanently? Cameron Carter-Vickers or Jota? It's nonsense. They were both signed on options to buys for a reason. I think that the last couple of games we've seen Jota very much at his destructive best. And I think he's a step ahead of this league. I think if Celtic can nail him on a permanent deal, he'll be one of those, Phil, whether we like it or not. I think he's got a sensible head on his shoulders, albeit. But I also think he'll be one that you just hold on to for as long as you can. 1 to 2 seasons, he'll be for the off. What did you make? What's your highlight of this current Celtic squad, Phil?
My highlight of the season, you mean? Or
No, I just mean in terms of like the players yesterday. Who's shining for you right now, and who's shone for you all season? Who's made a statement? And which yesterday, by the way, was a game we won the league. And I think certain characters came to the fore that we've went, do you know what? Fair dues.
Yeah. I've always said my player of the year candidate, I'd always vote for Carter Vickers. I was always backing him. And I know you've just talked about the whole one or the other. That's not me going down that route saying a Carter Vickers. No. Just I've thought over the season he has been consistently brilliant. And to find a good centre-back is always, such a hard thing to find. I mean, I don't think it's hyperbole to say this, and I'm not saying that he will go on and be as good as this guy, but he's the best centre-back that we've had since the Van Dijk era, when Virgil van Dijk and Jason Denayer were playing together. Carter Vickers is the closest we've had to that. Christopher Ajer, probably not too far off, but Carter Vickers is a good level for what we play in just now. He cruises through a lot of games, no problem at all. So he's always
better than Ajer, in my opinion.
Yeah. But Ajer was a centre mid that was converted to a centre back, wasn't he? Did he not come here as a midfielder? Aye. But he's been a massive highlight for me in this team. And another one that I would say is my pleasant surprise one was Abada. Because if you remember, is Abada not a Dudu Dahan signing? Remember, he was the agent that we always went to under Lennon. And every time that name came up, because at first, Dudu Dahan was like, we got in Kyle and stuff through him, and Lennon had quite a good hit ratio quite early on. And then the more he went back to him, some of the players were getting worse and worse. And I remember when Abada came in and that name popped up on Twitter, this is his agent, there was a bit of, oh, is this guy going to be good, you know? I think he's been the pleasant surprise signing of the season. You know, he has been the wild card. He's been phenomenal. His numbers have been excellent. And yeah, overall the team are just firing on all cylinders. When they're going at it, they are something else to watch. So, and in terms of the signings for the summer, it is crucial that we get Carter Vickers and Jota both signed, because consistency is key. We don't need to worry about qualifiers. We don't need to have the fear of Beaton and Stevie Welsh playing a qualifier together in early July, which we've seen in numerous years recently.
It's huge.
So you bring them, if you sign the two permanently, there's no bedding in process. They've been here for a year. It was the same when we had Oddsson Edward. We brought him in for a loan for a year, and then we signed him permanently, so there's no bedding in. He just picked up where he left off. But the same with them. So that means the players that Ange does bring in, like new signings, there's going to be less of them to bed in. It's crucial that we get those two over the line. So let's be greedy about it. Let's get both of them.
Absolutely, and then some.
And then some.
I spoke Paul yesterday about he ain't going to be looking for long-term projects anymore. He's wanting guys that will come immediately in at the first team now. Before I come to you, Paul, got to do the self-indulgent bullshit. The Bhoycie Bars has 179 people watching live on a Sunday tea time. This is what we do. Thank you so much. But if you have got the ability just to take 0.5 of a second, hit the like button, it'll become 280. It'll happen that quickly if everyone just hits the like button. There is also a subscribe option, although I can imagine why me, popping up. I can see a lot of you became members. Brian Galt, Ian Green and White have all became members of the channel right now. I have made it $1.99 a month or something. It's optional. You don't need to do it. It doesn't change anything. It's just merely showing your support for the channel. And it's cool that your name comes up in green. You know what I mean? Like Brian Galt right there. He's got a wee symbol beside his name there. You know what I mean? But it's all up to you what you want to do with regards to that. And there's no heavy push. Right. Let's get back to it, Paul. What are your thoughts on the current team right now? Who stood out in it? What is now, I'm calling it, a championship winning team? Well, you were there yesterday, Paul, for example. You're watching this team, you're going, do you know what? How did we get to this place? We were 9 points clear, or maybe it's 6 points now. But we were 9 points clear at full time yesterday with 2 games to play. How did we get here? Why did we get here? Who got us here? Tell me who's standing out and what the standout moments were for you, mate.
I think the main standout moment for me, everyone always comes over with the most obvious, and that's the 3-0 win against Rangers. But the standout moment for me in the season was the 1-0 against Dundee United. When Rangers had dropped points at Ross County, and everyone was celebrating in the stadium and thinking, "Oh, great, we're going to this is going to be easy today."
That's very
interesting. All of a sudden, we panicked that whole game. The pressure started to get to the players in that whole game, and the relief as that ball went over the line in the 90th minute was unbelievable. That's my standout moment, definitely.
Leo Labada, left thigh, right foot, top bins. Do many 20-year-olds have the ability under that sort of pressure to do that, Paul?
No.
Paul,
unique.
Would you say he's the most deserving young player of the year ever?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Definitely. Since he's came here and come straight into the team, he's been unbelievable. And he's actually showed a lot of maturity, that when he's been dropped out the team, even though he's not played badly, but he's been rotated in the team, and he's actually to get took out. He's been brilliant. He hasn't went in a huff or anything. His maturity has been absolutely superb.
I think so. He brings the directness as well, which I think sometimes is the beauty of having younger players. Sometimes they play with this a mad freedom, they don't overthink the game. They don't overcomplicate it. See with experience becomes perception of that might not work. Think about it a bit. Sometimes at the bad of the season, I think what he's done so well is he's not thought about it, Paul. It's just went, I'll go by you. Boom. I'll take a shot for a mad angle. Boom. And then he did show, as you were talking about maturity, at that moment you're saying is maybe your moment of the season. the calmness there to take the touch on the left thigh before rifling it in at the top bag on his right foot. Under that situation, I think that took, firstly, bollocks for the technique to do it, but secondly, also took a wiser head than his years, because it'd been easy just to have thrashed at that or threw your head at it, whatever, either way. To think you could just take a touch, and again, I love that left foot to right, left thigh to right foot. That was really classy. He should be exciting people more and more for next season, Paul, shouldn't he?
He should definitely, but I actually think that the reason why Ange has actually dropped him for the last few games and changed the system with Maida on the left and Jota on the right was actually to keep the pressure off Abada in his first season.
Yeah.
It's actually to keep the pressure off him as the league went on. That's what I think the reason for that was.
That's fair. Phil, I'll come at you, Lil Abada. So we've talked about Ange's plan for the front three. I've told you my truth. I think Ange sees a future with Kyogo, Maida, and Chaos has to be in there. If he's going to stick to the same formation, I think that's his favoured front three. Jota, we've just seen rack up his 26th goal involvement yesterday. His 25th and his 26th goal involvement yesterday. I think it's 12 goals, 14 assists. Then you've got Lil Abada, the young player of the year. I think he's on 10 goals? 14 goals, 10 assists, something like that. How are we going to contemplate this? And I've been saying I think he'll bring in another striker this summer. I stand by it. I still think he will go for an out-and-out poacher type player. I think that is still going to come in. Maybe not the top level sort of player that Postecoglou was talking about other positions, but I do still think he's going to bring in a poacher per se, one of those. But see, with regards to the options attacking wise, he seems to have this area sewn up, particularly if we get Jota on a permanent.
It's very fluid when you think about it. It's not black and white where this player can strictly play this position and that's the only position they'll play. We've seen Abada get deployed through the middle this season and score goals. Okay, he's not going to be first choice there, but it just shows that if we do get another injury crisis, he can go in there. Because there was the infamous month of December when we were running on fumes and he had to play up front in a few games. The St Johnstone game on Boxing Day, he scored there playing through the middle. So it's going to be like Kyogo. You pointed out when we did the show on Friday night talking about Hearts, there's this whole thing about Kyogo can't play out wide, but there was the game against Hearts in the League Cup at the start of the season where him and Edward started together, and many would always go back to this game and say, that was one of the best performances of the season. We won 3-2 in the end and it flattered Hearts, massively flattered them. We could have been out of sight. So it just shows you that Kyogo can play out there. And we've seen Maida play through the middle and out wide as well. The only one out of the forward option he's got who's very much black and white, this is his position, is Giakoumakis. He's not going to get deployed out wide, but that's fine. But there's so many other pieces around him that if injuries or suspensions dictate, he can move around. And it's great for the manager to have those options going into the summer. And say if he does add in another striker, because you've got to expect Ajeti, he's gone. He's out the door. He ain't figuring anymore. So another... I think he is. I think
we'll be having the same conversation this time next year. I think he's going nowhere.
Because nobody wants him, maybe that's it. We're actively trying to get rid of him, but, nah.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. It's a pity. It'd be great if we had, even someone coming up from the youth that could be that sort of, I don't know, Matt Butcher. Remember, he scored a lot of goals when he first came through. Even if, Sean Maloney, I remember, I know he became a winger. See, when he first was brought into the team, I remember him starting up front in place of Henrik Larsson against Stuttgart. Played up front. That was imagine, we do need one more option, I think, in an attacking role. Yet, when I've just described to the options, Terry, that we've got, it's fascinating. Now, this is the fun aspect of the show, Terry. I'm going to get your thoughts on this. We do it through the week all the time. There are positions, Andrew's already said before the game yesterday, he wants to strengthen. He wants to take it up a notch. He doesn't want guys coming in to just compete for the jersey. He wants guys going in, taking the jersey, making the others compete for. So let's say there's 3 positions Andrew's allowed to strengthen further on top of Jota and CCV being made permanent. Where does he go?
I think the obvious one that everyone talks about is left back, and I suppose I'll I have a question mark against quite a lot of the comments that Kaylee puts up there, but she did make one a few minutes back that did make sense. It was around football fans being fickle, and we were talking about Jota at the time. It's only 3 weeks ago since everybody, well, not everybody, but lots of people were saying Jota's heart's not in it. His head's been turned. The guy had only come back from injury. He had a couple of below par games, and all of a sudden, people knew that his head had been turned, his heart wasn't in it, he was going back to Benfica, or and the other one was Hatate. 15 minutes into Hatate's debut, people were going to flip him on for 30 million. And then a couple of weeks later, Hatate's he's not what we thought he was. No, it's just, we're so judgmental on
Terry, one game. Spot on, mate.
One game or half a game, this guy's great, this guy's not great. Then we change our mind. So the one that I'm bringing this up in relation to was Taylor. So at the start of the season, Taylor wouldn't do. Then Taylor has now come on to a good, steady game. Now Taylor is okay. But I still think if we're looking at strength, and if you're giving me 3 positions, I want an upgrade on Taylor. I want another midfielder, going back to what I said earlier, who can totally take a game by the scruff of the neck and boss a game. Yes, Rogic is great. He's got lovely little touches. He's got O'Reilly's quite similar, good in flashes. I want somebody else who can go in there when the chips are down, who can galvanize the rest of the team, who can get that ball, who can just boss the game. And I don't think other than Kalmak, I don't think we've got that player. If you give me a third one, I don't know about up front, because we're sitting there looking at the options, and I'm sort of looking at Abada and going, I can't wait to see this kid next year. But how do you leave that kid out of the team next year? And if you're looking at probably your first choice 3, he's not there, and he might not even be 4th choice. He might be 5th.
That's wild.
Here's the other thing as well. The phone's going to be ringing for some of these people. The phone's going to be ringing for some of these guys during the summer. Are we going to be able to hold on to conversation, mate? The phone's also going to be ringing for the manager, by the way, as well, because the clubs down south aren't. Stevie G got a move to the Premiership based on 1 trophy out of 9 or 12 or whatever it was. People are going to look at what Ange's done in a short space of time and go, right, hold on, that guy could do this for us. And I think in terms of the playing squad, if we can hold on to everybody and we can add a little bit of stardust as well as the 2 guys that we've already talked about, I think that's what I would like. But yeah, a left back, somebody in the mold of Juranovic at left back. It's where do you get them? Where do you find them? Who is it? Something again that Regan and the guys were talking about this morning that I found very interesting was it is a squad game, but where are you going to get guys who are happy to be squad players? Where are you going to get guys who aren't going to throw their toys out if they're not first choice every week? I think the guys were talking about the likes of Ralston and Juranovic, that competition, and the fact that you've got 2 players there who are taking each other on. Juranovic is taking Ralston to the next level. The guys were talking about a left back. Are you going to bring someone in who isn't going to be happy, or is going to be happy not playing every week? We were talking as well about James Forrest. I personally would keep James Forrest, because where are you going to get someone with that quality who is going to be happy coming on once every 2 or 3 games and making an impact? If you go out and you bring in a player with a big transfer fee, big wages, that player's going to expect to play, and he's not going to be happy being a squad player. It's a very difficult one, and I think probably at some stage before we finish up, we'll maybe talk about Near Beaton and the rumours that have been circulating today. Again, Near Beaton at no stage in his 9 years with Celtic could be regarded as a regular first-team player, yet he's been happy to be at the club. He's been happy to come on there and be a squad player and fill in when the club needs him in positions where he isn't totally comfortable. And it's not every player that you're going to be able to find who's happy to perform that role for you.
Well, if they're shite, they will be able to, Terry. Trust me. You get shite players, they'll stay there for 10 years. Don't worry about that. And Near Beaton, for me, nah. I know folk will talk about Servant and all that shite. Near Beaton's biggest memories in a Celtic shirt are bad ones, in my opinion, not good ones. Bored of all the loving right now happening just because he's been there for ages. He's been there for ages. He achieved fuck all, as you rightfully pointed out, Terry. I know you weren't saying it as a dig, but he never became a regular in 10 years. He's a passenger. And I don't mean, hey, I love bus passengers. But he is very much a passenger. Under every manager, he's just slipped under the radar, then when called upon in the big moment, blows it. I wouldn't mean it like in a bad way. I don't mean it, I don't know him personally or anything. But as a footballer, he's the type of person I think we need out. If he's the answer to be your holding midfielder, to bring in a physical presence, to diffuse matches, I'm sorry. I think we can upgrade on that straight away. Now, Phil, Terry raises a lot of good points, though, because Greg Taylor, I thought again yesterday, had a wonderful display. Greg Taylor's, though, somewhere at the same time, I think is an obvious area we have to be targeting to improve. Now, also what's very interesting what Terry said was about if we're bringing guys on EPL wages or whatever, they're going to expect to play. The weird thing with Angie's signings so far, I don't think any of them have came with that sort of persona. I don't think any of them came with that sort of background. He seems to get, left field sort of signings. I don't mean on the pitch, but left field sort of signings. And what he's done is he's changed the strategy of Celtic. Now, I think from Rodgers, even onto Neil Lennon, we signed players on a stepping stone FC policy. And it was all about, come join us, because in a year we'll get you out the door for big bucks. Come here, do well for a season. We'll sell you on for, quadruple the value. You'll get a big sign-on fee. Well done. The top scouts come and watch us, by the way. Whereas I think Andrew signed everyone because he goes, you're coming to play for Celtic. You're going to love it. It's Celtic. Can he do that at left back still, Phil? Is there any other areas of the pitch you'd like to see us upgrade on? I think left back for me, and it's no offence, I thought Taylor was brilliant yesterday.
Yeah.
He still can do better.
Oh, yeah. He can definitely find as a left back, given the markets he knows and the agents and the contacts. To say this Mark Lawwell move is going to add to that. I'll tell you, though, a position that we definitely do need to get another option in is goalkeeper, because Joe Hart is brilliant, but after Joe Hart is Scott Bain. I remember we played Aberdeen this season at home, and that Ramirez that plays up front for Aberdeen done Joe Hart in the first couple of minutes, and Joe Hart was down for about 5 minutes or so getting treatment. And I remember the fear going around the stadium. It was palpable. The sort of, oh no, when Scott Bain came out to warm up, it was like, oh no. So that is what we have to get, a good second choice goalkeeper, like a step up on Scott Bain. He is exactly what Terry's talking about, a player that's happy to sit there and be a number two, but we need somebody who also at the same time wants to push Joe Hart and keep him on his toes, it's somebody better than that, because, as I say, I remember that fear that was in the whole stadium that day when Scott Bain came out. I think you might be at that game as well, Russell. I'm sure you mentioned you went to that one, but there was like the first few minutes Ramirez done him where I really sniped his elbow.
I was at that game as well. Here's the thing, Phil. Where do you get a goalkeeper who's good enough to replace Joe Hart, but is also happy to sit on the bench when Joe Hart's fit?
It is a dilemma, and that is a dilemma, because I say you want somebody, who does push him a wee bit to just keep him close, because he is 35 now, so he is coming to that sort of end goalkeeper's life cycle. He's can go every 40. He does, but we have to get somebody better than Scott Bain. But I'm sure Ange say with all these markets he knows, he will.
Paul, I'll come at you on that, the goalkeeper situation, because Joe Hart's became someone I think it's been colossal to our success this season, Paul. I think what he's brought to the table is a level of maturity and knowledge of how to get the job done, get over the line. He's been there, he's seen it, he's done it. And at times, he won that league with Man City with the Aguero moment. He knows how fine the margins can be in league title races, but he will also be able to reflect. I bet if you said to Joe Hart, you only won that Man City season because of Aguero's last minute goal. I bet he'd point to about 5-6 different examples through that season. He went, whoa. That's where we won it. That's where we won it. Away at whoever it may have been, Tottenham or something, and we pulled it back 3-2 last minute. He'll be able to, I think his experience and wealth of knowledge has been vital for the Celtic team. I also think it helps. He seems to have, which happens every now and then, like Scott Sinclair buys into the ethos of the club, he's part of it, but I still think he's pushed. Paul, I think Phil and Terry are thinking, well, who would be happy to be number 2? No. We don't sign one to be happy to be number 2. We bring them on to share the jersey. Whoever wins, wins. It's a straight street fight for that jersey. There's a huge pre-season to impress me. I think that's the way to go. And I think, by the way, if Joe Hart comes out on top of that battle come day 1 of the league season, I think we all sit there and go, we've got a better version of Joe Hart now.
Definitely. I've always liked Seacrest at Dundee United, because obviously he's got the experience of playing in this league anyway. He knows
That's true.
He knows how hard it can be. But at the same time, Celtic's also got this young goalkeeper, and Joe Hart rates him highly. Now, if Joe Hart is rating you highly, then keep him going. Play him in the first team. You know what I mean? Even if it's like the pre-season games, play him there. And it's the same, like you were saying earlier on about the striking position as well. We already have someone at the club who is on loan at the moment, who Ange doesn't want to get rid of, and that's Afolabi. He's at Airdrie at the moment, and the playoff yesterday for Airdrie, he came onto the park when Airdrie were trailing 3-0, scored 2 goals and had 5 assists. As Airdrie come back to win 6-4. Now,
I've seen that. Aye.
So could that be the striker that you said, that we've got the target man in Chaos, but could the actual ball winner in the box, could it be Afolabi?
Well, it's fascinating that you say that, Paul, because this is the argument. I mean, we'll go back to Kaylee's point, Terry, straight away. Football fans are fickle. Now, Paul, you're talking about bringing a youth player who's got proven success at a low level into the first team. Guess what? That doesn't whet the appetite of football fans in the summer. They demand academies.
Of course it doesn't, but the minute he starts putting the ball in the net, they'll be all over him.
I know. What I'm trying to say, though, is we demand signings in the summer, but then we'll demand our upgrade on the academy. Well, what for? You won't sign it? Like, we can't win. But I agree with you. I think if Afolabi was to be put into the first team squad, I think fans would be underwhelmed, because the second we see a defeat, say in the Champions League, for example, we'll say, well, we should have invested. Instead, we're using strikers that only scored for Airdrie last year. You can hear that now, eh? You can hear that. But yet, flip it and go, he does a Tony Watt moment. And you go, that's fucking amazing. That's one of our own. We brought him through the ranks. Football fans, as Kaylee Galt says to Terry, are fickle. Now, we've not got a lot of time left, and there's over 200 watching right now, which just blows my mind.
Amazing.
If you want to hit the subscribe button, the like button, become a member, it's $1.99 a month. I don't care if you don't, it's fine. Loads of folk are beginning to do it now, which is great, because it does help us, well, pays my bills, put it that way, for the old running the pod, you know what I mean? I earn a modest wage. I'm not a big boaster about fucking being ITK and in the know and all fucking loaded. But anyway, I hate all that shite. I really hate it. It's all about cool jackets, isn't that right, Terry? Now, I want you to compare something for me, Terry. Now, you've obviously seen a couple of more seasons than me. I'm not going to say many more, but a few more seasons than me, right? No offense. You wear it well, by the way, as you could tell. How does this side now begin to compare? Now we're nearing... We know we're champions now, right? That's it. I know we've not officially done it. It's done, right? We have won the league. How does this league title winning side compare, shall we say, with sides from the previous eras?
I don't know, Bhoycie. It's a good question. It's a very difficult one to compare sides from different eras. I mean, I did see what did I see today? Kenny Miller comparing the current Rangers team to the Lisbon Lions or something like that. Something crazy like that, if they go ahead and win it, that kind of thing. But this team, I don't know. It depends what they do next, doesn't it? If we can go on some kind of run and we can reel off a few titles, if we can start to make inroads in Europe, then perhaps you're starting to look at this team in the same kind of way that you maybe looked at Martin O'Neill's team, something like that. It depends where we go from now. This is one title. It's been very sweet. The football's been pleasing on the eye, but if we don't continue on this, if we don't win the league next year, if we don't win the league next year, or we don't make any inroads in Europe, we get hammered in the group, all 6 matches.
I can't.
Oh my god. Oh.
Stop the bus and let me go.
Oh, right, come on.
Oh.
Sorry. I pulled that comment out without probably. Right, come on. Let's go back to Terry. Terry raised a lot of good points there, right? He did really well.
It depends on what happens next, Bhoycie, but we need to kick on. Before we can start comparing this team to some of the teams, Martin's team, Brendan's team, we need to kick on. We need to do it over a longer period. And
do you think that's fair though? See, when you come to it, Phil, right? Martin O'Neill's first season, the all-conquering treble winning side, a team that went for 21 points league defeat the year before. Mm-hmm. See similarities. We went out to Bordeaux, UEFA Cup round 2, having lost at home. Lilian Laslandes scored 2 goals, and he was an absolute donkey, by the way. And you thought, really, like the Europe thing, we've not really sussed. The next year, we take 9 points in the Champions League.
Yep.
We become a force in Europe. We were stolen a point that was in Turin. Suddenly, it was like, wow. Could we see this happen again with Ange? And is Terry right? To be fair, to judge in the first season where he measures is maybe a wee bit unfair. However, there's guys like Wim Jansen who are only there 1 season and won a league against all odds. So there's similarities there. I also think as well, Gordon Strachan got us to the last 16 in the Champions League in season 2, season 3, but he won the league season 1. Again, it was unexpected, such was he had, I think, a similar start to Ange as well. Remember the Bratislava game?
Bratislava.
5-0 down, but he won the second like 4-0, which was mad. And I look back at that team, John Hartson and Chris Sutton in that Nike top just doesn't sit well with me.
Dion Dublin finished the season as one of our main strikers, 37-year-old. I think we talked about it on Friday night, didn't we? Talked about the Hearts 2006 game, and I mentioned some of the players in that 2016. We won 2 trophies that season. We had an absolute, some of the signings were absolute banter, like Mo Kamara, stuff like that. So, Strachan did well under these circumstances. But I was going to actually, when you bring up another team, I was going to say this at some point during the night, like the similarities to the Martin O'Neill first season, because he took over a team that was, decimated with losing the league in 2000 by a big margin, and then ended up winning the league won the treble the next season by a huge margin. And then you look at this season. So I was going to say to you, Russell, because you're all about the Martin, you love the Martin O'Neill leader.
Oh, mate, I do.
What do you think's been the more impressive, turnaround? Martin O'Neill's first season, where he had that gap to bridge to. Remember, that Rangers team was Advocaat's team with all sorts of huge signings in it.
I don't need you to influence my answer, Phil. Ask me the question, I'm ready.
So, Ange Postecoglou this season overturning it and winning the league, or Martin O'Neill's first season? What's most impressive?
Martin O'Neill's. Martin O'Neill's what it was, because there was the thing was, Rangers won a season this year, right? They won 1. Martin O'Neill was coming into a tidal wave of Rangers dominance, shall we say, for a decade.
Yeah.
And spending like no other. And it generally was bona fide quality that was in that Rangers team. This isn't bullshit. Like, follow back, you go, Arthur Newman was the Dutch regular fullback. Like, he was Holland's number 1 fullback by a country mile.
Yep.
That was the fullback position, let alone the quality through the rest of their squad, And, like, 2 guy, 100 caps for Turkey or something he ended up with, you know what I mean? Yep. Barry Ferguson, for me, I know folk don't like it. I think he was absolute quality. Loads of good players. Anyway, we're not going to gush about that. I feel a bit bulky right now. But I think what happened with O'Neill was he's seen how it worked. He understood the game, and what he did was he took a team not to be a better football team. He went, we can't compete because even if I spend £20 million, it's nothing on the, Rangers had at that point £5 million subs. You know what I mean? But it's 22 years ago. Celtic don't have £5 million subs now. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. But what O'Neill did was he seen the challenge and he knew how to combat it. Bully them. Become physical. Don't Celtic get kicked off the ball too much. Too many pretty footballers. That is the truth. Celtic at that point were too nice.
Yeah.
You look, and Tommy Burns had only been in charge 4 years before.
Yep.
And he's looking at that. And Martin O'Neill would have been influenced by Burns. Trust me. He would have known all his story. And I think he's watching, he's going, too nice. That's how you didn't win the league. Great team, too nice. O'Neill set a tone. What I would also say is Ange Postecoglou's set a tone.
Yeah.
Paul, I'll come at you. Postecoglou's done it very differently from Martin O'Neill. But it's been just as impressive, I would say, a turnaround as O'Neill's. If it were me, if you put me in the spot like Phil did, I would lean towards O'Neill's turnaround. For me, was a greater one. Such was the margin we won the league by, having lost it by a similar margin. Such was the fact that we became a European force the next year. That still remains to be seen under Postecoglou, by the way. But would you say that the turnaround is measurable?
Definitely.
200 live.
Brilliant. Definitely. I genuinely think, like you say, Bhoycie, with Martin O'Neill's team, I would say, yeah, definitely. I would agree with you there with the turnaround, definitely. But what Ange has done for us not having an actual team this year, and the amount of players that we had in here who did not want to play, he did not want to play here. I thought Ange handled everything absolutely perfect. Ange was absolutely amazing, definitely.
He's done an incredible job.
And on that note, with Brown Water with 3-5-2, I've said that all along to you, Bhoycie, about
you have, mate.
Changing things in Europe. You don't change the system, but you can twist the system around. You work it around with the formations. I think 3-5-2 with Ange's system would be amazing in Europe. And like you say, you're wondering about who you could play out left wing and all that. Well, you've got Hatate there. Hatate played in left wing back for his last club. And also the inverted fullbacks like to play in to the midfield, where Hatate plays already just now.
I get you. I do get where you're coming from with that now. Feed the bear, said Russell Steele longer, it's getting good. But I know Phil McGinley's an F1 fanatic, and he's sitting there right now going,
it's right there on the screen next to me. No, it doesn't. They don't go till 8:30. They don't start till 8:30.
As long as you're all right, mate. I've just wanted to check in. Right, cool.
I'm not bothered with the pre-race stuff. They just talk about Lewis Hamilton the whole time, and I can't really be bothered listening. I just want to watch the race. Fair
enough. Now, David Kelly, I love him, but I hate him at the same time sometimes because he's good with the comment. He always backs up his argument. David Kelly's one of the best folk in the comments because when Terry, where it's like someone disagrees with you and you go, "Oh, fuck off, mate." But he always kind of tends to back it up, and you go, I kind of have to respect that, And David Kelly's very good at that. But I am not having Ange's turnarounds miles better than O'Neill's. It's not even close. No, he's focusing on the Celtic side. He's forgetting what the opposition were. Ange's opposition, you want to talk about net spend. The net spend of the Rangers team's what? £12 million? They were up against the net spend of Advocaat's team that O'Neill turned against was about 180, I don't know, £78 million, 22 years ago, bear in mind. So I think the force that O'Neill came up against in terms of Rangers, £20 million sounds a lot on paper, Terry. But realistically, we were only just beginning to pick up the ball in terms of transfer fees then, because Rangers have been doing that for 5 years, going on 6 years. I think he's saying, this is, O'Neill's was a better team. Yes, he agrees with that. But I think he's been a bit dismissive about what the challenge in front of O'Neill was. That's the difference. It's easy to focus on us spending a lot of money under O'Neill. But the difference was we were against a juggernaut at that time. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah. what I would say would be the comparisons between these two managers, I think, are going to continue to keep happening, because I think Ange is the first manager since Martin who has, as we said earlier, really got he's got the whole club united, and he's very charismatic. And yeah, I know Brendan was there, and Brendan said the right things, but Brendan knew how to press all the right buttons, whereas with Martin and with Ange,
He did.
I think both of those guys come across really genuine. Ange, unless he's kidding us all on, he seems like such a real genuine guy. And I was very lucky to meet Martin O'Neill a few times, and
Wow.
Martin was he could cut people, and Ange can do the same. He doesn't take any nonsense from the guys on the reporters and the guys interviewing him. He takes no nonsense, but he's a very funny guy and has a similar sense of humor to what Martin O'Neill had. Going back to your question around the challenge that Martin O'Neill was faced with, I mean, the reason we went for Martin O'Neill is because the challenge was so big, and the reason we gave Martin the funds that we did give him is because there was a complete realization that the challenge that he faced at that time was going to require significant investment for him to be able to turn it around. I just hope that we're sitting here, Bhoycie, in another 2 or 3 years, and we've still got Ange here, and we can start to compare the achievements over that period of time. Ange's achievements against Brendan's, against Martin's, against Gordon Strachan, against those guys. I just have a slight niggle that it's a little bit too good to be true. This guy's just waltzed in here, to use an Australian pun. He's waltzed in here. He's absolutely delivered in his first season. There's going to come a time where somebody is going to come along and ask the question, and the Celtic board are going to have to give us the right answer.
Phil, I think Terry raises hundreds of good points there as well, and shares the deep down fear. I think if you bring it up, you could be accused of being negative. We've just won a title, for fuck's sake. You're now talking about the manager. There's the headline. Terry wants debates manager walking out on Celtic in exclusive news on the pot. Is bullshit. I think what you're saying, Terry, is, do you know how highly does Celtic value a guy Terry values up here? Does Celtic value him up there? Have we seen examples in the past where managers that have been top draw? I don't give a shit what anyone says about Brendan Rodgers, right? He is a top fucking man. My hunch is he'll be back.
Brendan would have delivered the 10. There's nobody will tell me any different.
There you go.
Nobody will tell me any different.
Simple as that, Terry. And I know people are bitter about his departure, but there's two sides to every story. You back someone when they're an elite manager, they've turned your club over £100 million 2 years in a row. You back them. You keep backing them, because that'll turn into a £200 million turnover eventually if he'd been backed. Brian Warrior hates it when I do this, but it's the truth. He wants to focus on the negatives. Oh, but the wages went up. Of course the wages went up. It's a sign of success. This is the sign of success. This is what we do. Phil, when it comes to the manager, this time around, Celtic have to get all the eggs in the same basket as Ange's. Because right now, I think we're looking at a proposition that's not too dissimilar to the Rodgers side of it, to the O'Neill side of it. And by the way, see if anyone questions Martin O'Neill's loyalty. That's a great point. Because they did it with O'Neill. Backed heavily first season. Second season, backed heavily. Third season, what? I've just took you to a UEFA Cup final, and they got David Fernandez.
That's right, so they did. David Fernandez.
It's unacceptable. Like, it's genuinely unacceptable. Like that, why would you not be adding the finishing touches to that team? Albeit an aging team, I still think, well, you'll make your money back. That team was good enough with a couple of first team players added, I think, to go to last 16s, last 8s of the Champions League. Phil, how far can Ange take the Celtic team?
I think the first thing that they need to do, and we're talking about, what the next bit is he's got to sign the deal. They've got to give him a long-term deal like did Brendan. I know people will point out, well, a rolling contract, the way it works is, like his contract expires 365 days from now, and then tomorrow it'll be 365 days from tomorrow. I get that, and there's the whole thing about, every manager we bring in is always a 1 year rolling. I think for Celtic's own good, they've got to protect their own interests and get him on a long-term deal for the compensation, because people outside of the Scottish football bubble will be watching his work. We've heard stories already. He's already on the City Group's radar, and I'm not saying he's going to replace Pep Guardiola.
He's part of the City Group.
The City Group isn't just Manchester City. There's teams all over the world that are part of that, and they'll be thinking, we can maybe move him to this club and stuff like that. And, they'll have an eye on him. So Celtic need to make sure that they are protected, and they've got a contingency plan in place if the worst happens. But I don't think, that's just my prediction. In terms of how far he could take us in Europe, I think we'll see next season Champions League. I've said this before on a couple of shows I've been on. It's just all about what we do in the summer. It's too early to speculate what we're going to bring in. I think Ange will act really quick and get it done really early, and we'll just see what he brings in. Aye.
Ian, guess what? You've been chucked off the bus. Get the fuck, you prick.
Oh, dearie me.
I'm not putting up that shit. He doesn't get a clue what he's talking about. Not a clue what he's talking about.
Crack for Ian. Poor. Off you go.
Nah, fuck him. Fuck him. Sorry to interrupt you there, Phil, but
that's
he gets his wee moment of fame. He'll be sitting there tickling his wee balls now, thinking he's going to type in a really hard reply, and it'll not come up because he's gone. Wee prick. Sorry about that. That annoys me, stuff like that. I have no idea what they're talking about there. Talk about my dad ever again, honestly. I hate stuff like that. Naughty. Anyway, I think it is a good debate, because I think when it comes to Postecoglou, we're sitting there with a guy who has been a diamond in the rough, Paul. He's been a diamond in the rough that I think is frightening. It seems that no one knew about him. Then, as Phil alludes to, you're going, well, actually, he's kind of in the City Group. So he is well known. There's obviously the famous photo of him with Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola did an interview discussing Postecoglou's qualities as a coach prior to coming to Celtic. I think what we have to do is remember, Brendan Rodgers, whether folk like him, don't like him, irrelevant. We still are in the top 10 in the world's history of compensation, i.e. manager transfer fees. Let's call it that, because that simplifies it, right? £9 million Celtic received to sell Brendan Rodgers, if you like. That is in the top 10 in the world's history for manager sales fees, if your transfer fees, if you like. We've got to ensure that Ange Postecoglou, if, and only a massive if, he were ever to be scouted, if he was ever to leave, we've got to make sure we've got a similar insurance policy, surely, Paul, don't we?
Definitely. I actually think that Ange could be the final jigsaw. This could be controversial, what I'm about to say, but Ange could be the final piece of the jigsaw in the City Group taking over Celtic.
It's crossed my mind as well, something like that. We might be unofficially part of it or something, just sort of, yeah.
Definitely, I think that. And if Ange was ever to leave us, I think with the way his performances have been as a manager all over the world, I think it should be top 4 in the Premier League at least. Anything other than that, it should stay with us.
Do you know the beauty of this? And as Terry, very vulnerably, as a Celtic fan, I liked it, Terry, when you said it, because you do speak the truth, but you go, well, unless he's leading us up a garden path, and we felt like that at times. Brendan Rodgers released an autobiography through the Celtic channel. That is a Celtic production, his autobiography. If you look at it, that is all produced by Celtic FC. So he was completely, when Leicester City come in mid-season, first manager ever to, of their own will, leave Celtic mid-season, ever. Yet, one of the only managers, if not the only manager, to have their own autobiography done through Celtic as a club. Ange couldn't be doing this to us. I like the cut of his jib. I was doubtful when he took over, Terry, right? Because I think his record does deserve scrutiny. It's not going to take guys for Japan and Australia to convince me of that, because they're biased. That is the end of the day. Patriotism is fine. It would be like if a Scottish manager or an ex-Celtic manager, probably is more accurate way to describe it. If Martin O'Neill took over a Japanese team tomorrow, they'd be coming to us going, give us the feedback. We go, off. He just wins. He's a winning machine. That's how it works, right? So I was going to take these guys' attitudes at face value, do a bit of digging. And I wasn't overly impressed. I'm still not with Angie's overall track record. I don't know why folk dress up and make it sound. It's not as great as you make out. But what he's done since he came in is shut a lot of people like myself up. He's brought unity. He's brought clarity to the Celtic team. And now we've got a guy, Terry, who becomes like a Kyogo. He's an asset to not just Celtic as a club, but he's an asset to the business. Are the Celtic board willing to modernise enough, Terry, to keep up with a manager as progressive as Postecoglou? Because see, if you actually look at his track record, it doesn't take much for him to leave a club either.
That's the question, boys. So that's the bit that we're going to have to see over the coming months, hopefully years. Is his ambition going to be met by the board? We look back through history and they back managers to a certain extent and then they back away from it. We've just got to wait and see. Yeah,
I mean, it is exciting though. I mean, the good thing is you've got a manager right now who is an asset. And I'm not one of the huge Neil Lennon bashers. I probably was last year, to be honest, when he was in the helm. But to me, I've been able to wash my hands with it a wee bit quicker than some. And I think it's a younger generation that are really, that's their epitome of Neil Lennon. And like mine's goes far deeper. He was the anchor in that team that got us to Seville. He was the anchor that got us to 2 last 16s in Gordon Strachan's team. The only one to make the transition fully from O'Neill to the Strachan era was Neil Lennon. And he was the oldest of that group. He then becomes manager, and I thought in 2010, I thought he brought in one of the most exciting Celtic teams I've ever seen in my life. Just finished short that first season, which was a bit of Celtic romance in that story, Phil. Nice. But when it comes to the management game, it's moved on from Neil Lennon's. It's became Ange Postecoglou's sort of era. Can you imagine him right now looking at Celtic as, see from the outside, I think he's looked at Celtic and went, sleeping giant.
Definitely.
Sleeping giant. His focus now, Phil, is purely, I think, next year on Europe.
I think, yeah, it's you've said it before on the show, and in fact, most of the contributors have. We've talked about what his ambitions are. The very bare minimums to come in and achieve domestic success. We've done that. I mean, look at the last few years. We've been hoovering up trophies for fun in the last decade. So it's taken that next step. We've obviously had a bit of an up and down time in Europe. There's been a lot said in this whole 18-year record that we've not won a knockout tie in any European competition, whether it's Champions League, Europa League, or even when it was the UEFA Cup. I've had a good think about this, and I think the problem goes wider than just this after Christmas thing. I think it's just European performance as a whole, because it's one of those stats a bit like the Livingston stat we talked about. You've not beat Livingston since 2006 at Almondvale. For that whole 18 years, we've not actually been in second round of Europe after Christmas. The bigger issue is what's happening before Christmas, when we're in a group stage, whether it's Champions League or Europa League. And when you look as well at some of the opponents that we've played, it's when we have got to a second round and we've been getting bashed for it. Like, we've not won for 18 years. Well, we beat Barcelona and we lost to Villarreal, that 2004 one. The next time we were in the second round of any European competition was 2007. We played AC Milan, who went on to win the competition that year. The year after that, we played Barcelona. So again, does Celtic have any right to walk out of the games? I would say out of the multiple the times we've been in the second round of any European competition in this hallowed 18 years that everyone's talking about, the only games I would say we probably could have went in and went, yeah, we should win this, would probably be the Bodo game and probably Copenhagen a few years ago, because we've played Valencia, we've played Juventus, we've played Zenit St. Petersburg, AC Milan, Barcelona. And then the other ones, we've just not been in Europe. So we've actually not been in the second round. So that, to me, is a bigger concern, is what happens before Christmas. And Ange needs to get that part right first, and then we'll worry about what happens after Christmas. And I think, yeah, he'll be thinking about that already. What's the best battle plan we can have here going into this group stage? He's got all the time in the summer to prepare for it. No qualifiers to worry about. We won't kick a ball in European competition until September. So it's fell nicely into his lap here. So hopefully we make the most of it. And if we do get through into Europe after Christmas, we can properly attack it this time.
No, I think that's fair, Phil. I don't know if I'm breaking up here a wee bit, but Paul, Feed the Bear comes in. He doesn't want Lenny bashing. Not from us. I'm genuinely trying to actually put a wee bit of a case for Neil Lennon, if you like. I think he gets it tight. David Kelly, again, I think his points hurt me more because I know he's articulate, you know. But Neil Lennon was not an average footballer. Not an average footballer. Martin Neil doesn't go out his way to spend £6 million on average footballers. Neil Lennon was a cog in that team that was vital, and he brought out the best in the right. Anyway, let's move on and let's go on to what Phil's saying there. Do you subscribe to what you just said there, Paul?
Definitely. Aye, definitely. What do you call it? I think that Ange's system that he's brought in, Ange's type of player that he's brought in, I genuinely think that he wants European success. He wasn't even considering domestic success. I actually think Ange is a lot more closer to Jock Stein than a lot of the managers we've had. Honestly,
It's big.
Honestly, Boycie, and see the way he acts, the way the players, the father figure. That's what I think of Jock Stein. Jock Stein didn't only look after the players as a manager; he looked after them as a family. And you know, and Ange just brought the family spirit back into the dressing room. Celtic fans, everybody will always be a family, but in the dressing room it was lost.
That's so true.
In one season, he's brought that back. That's what Jock Stein done when he first came to Celtic. He brought that family spirit back first, and you know what happened there.
Here's a question for you, lads. If we had got Eddie Howe, as myself and lots of people want it, do you think Ange would still be managing in Japan?
No.
Because what the bit that I couldn't understand is we flirted with Eddie Howe for 3 months.
More than that.
But whatever it was, but it seems like Ange was also on the radar throughout all of that time. I just wonder from his perspective, was he happy sitting there thinking, right, I'll have to wait to see what they do, whether Eddie takes this or not, to understand whether I'm going to get a shot at it. It's a strange one. I'd love to know kind of how that story unfolded. At what point was Ange engaged in the process? What was was he on the reserve list, or you know, it is a strange one. I'm glad it's worked out the way that it did. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Eddie Howe would have had success with Celtic. He's doing a great job with Newcastle at the moment. I honestly didn't think he would do as well with that Newcastle team.
No, me neither. And
but I'm so pleased with how things have worked out. Again, it's looking at the way Ange has united everybody. His personality. I don't know if Eddie Howe would have been as strong a personality as Ange. I probably don't think he would. I don't know that he could have gone into Celtic and just brought all facets of the club together in the way that Ange does. He maybe could. I'm maybe selling him short, but it didn't happen. But I just love to understand from Ange's perspective where was he in the pecking order? What how did that all sort of come about? Because once Eddie Howe made his decision, we moved on to Ange quite quickly, and it was all done very quickly.
I think it's very interesting what you're bringing up there, Terry. It's a fascinating debate because Postecoglou now, as I was saying a minute ago, is an asset to the business, let alone anything else. Forget the football side. Even if you protect your assets, if you've got a Henrik Larsson, you pay them £40,000 a week 22 years ago. The reason for that being you're protecting your asset. If he's making that each week, what do you sell him for? It, doubles his fee, if you like, because the buying out the contract alone is going to cost a fortune. I think with Ange Postecoglou right now, you're looking at a guy you're going, he's got to be regarded surely in more quarters than just the Celtic boardroom as an elite manager. How did we land? How did we strike lucky now? Glasgow CSC came in and said, apparently Ange had announced in January 2021, he was always leaving the J-League. That is not because I'm doubting you, but that is definitely the first I've seen of that. I hadn't heard that at all. My information, I nearly said. But I mean, my thought process on it was that he got wind of it and he took it. And I remember him saying at one of his initial press conferences that, I think there was a dig about the Eddie Howe stuff, and he sort of went, well, do you know what? I've never known a managerial job, to have only one target. Do you know what I mean? The fact is, they've picked me now. I'm here. Let's do it. I think it's funny because the last guy to come from Japanese football to become a manager, Paul, was Arsene Wenger, 1996. And he had already signed 2 players before joining. One of them went on to manage Villa, Rami Gardi, and the other one was Patrick Vieira. Those 2 had joined the club before even Wenger had joined. I think it was in September, October. Now, when Ange Postecoglou came in, he did a similar thing. Now, don't get me wrong, they weren't players from the J League, but they were French nationality that clearly Wenger knew a thing or two about that the rest of us didn't. I think Vieira was only £3.5 million. Mental. Postecoglou brought a wealth of knowledge we didn't know about either, didn't he, Paul?
That's true.
He brought players in at the start of this journey, and it's been. I know we talk about the journey. Shut up, you know. I mean, like nobody's talking about Division 3, mate. You know what I mean? We're talking about the journey Postecoglou's done in 1 year, and that's all it took, by the way. 1 year title back, one year title back. Wee reminder. But what Postecoglou did was not one player he signed was a household name. Do you see that continuing into the summer? Now, albeit we now know Jota and Cameron Carter because they're household names, but that's because they played for us. Take them out the equation. Do you think if he gets, the keys to, let's say, another £10 million, another £15 million to spend on 2-3 players, are they going to be names that we know, or do you think it'll be, if you know them, well, sound, Ange happens to identify them as well, or do you think Ange is going to go back into these weird and wonderful transfer markets that we just that are fascinating that we just don't know that much about?
Well, I've always thought that in his second season, he should go for quality, not quantity. But then you can turn around and say, well, what he's brought to the club is quality. So, and we didn't know them. So if he can go in there and unearth a few more gems, that would be absolutely perfect. But he's also been going for a French international as well. The rumours had been, sorry, I'm saying rumours.
No, you're right.
The French striker Mendy. That was the latest name that he's supposed to be going for.
League 2?
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
I mean, it's the same type of thing as, like you said, with Arsene Wenger. He brought in the same type of players that Wenger brought in to the league. And now he's going to up the ante for the second year.
What did you say? Up the Angie?
Up the ante.
But Phil, I think it is fascinating. This is what excites us as Celtic fans, and I know we're over an hour and a half talking shit. There's still 190 folk watching, so they must be enjoying it, Terry. And if you want to go, just tell me. By the way, we can call it whenever you want. By the way, there's probably Terry's like that.
I want to go and get another can.
Go get another can. Go get one. Go get one, mate.
So,
I think it's very interesting that we know we're going to be in a position of power, shall we say, in terms of the transfer window. By the way, that might be equaled by our rivals, but hopefully no longer do we define our decisions by our rivals, which I think we've done, by the way, for years. We've defined our decisions by getting in Ronnie Dyla as an assistant manager, then promoting him to the manager position because we didn't get Roy Keane because Rangers were in the lower leagues. It was all about, where are they? Oh, that'll still do then. That's fine. Colin Kazim Richards, Carlton Cole, these are signings just to be, they were just signings, mate, to get over the line, win the league. It's fine. Rangers aren't even in the league yet. Yeah. Everything was done. Celtic have to keep now progressing the same way Ange just took the club. Ange took the club from the depths, okay? He took them from the depths this season, and he has restored the fans' belief. He's restored faith in what Celtic can be as a club, I think. And I also think as well, what he's done is he's raised the bar for the board. He's gone, I've bailed you fuckers out here. No one likes you. None of them like you out there, by the way. Piss me off and watch them turn on you. Right now you've won a watch because they're all being nice to you because I've got us back top of the league looking down on the Rangers. That's the truth. Do you think, Phil, Celtic are capable of matching the ambitions of Ange Postecoglou?
Yes, I think they are capable, and I think
Aye.
they know they have to. Yes, I do think that. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier, but you learn from history. If you don't, you're going to repeat the same mistakes again. I say we've been this before. We're going back to Wim Jansen. We talked about the one season, and then we let him go, and we're in a great position. We've just won the league first time in 10 years, and then he disappears, and then it's back to square one again. And we had to bring in Joseph Venglos, and we were behind in the transfers and stuff because we had to chase manager. So I think the board know after what's happened in recent years as well, with like the Brendan stuff, we need to back this guy. And just again talking about the transfer targets, I love that you brought up the Arsene Wenger thing. I literally watched his film the other day on Amazon Prime, the Professor one. It is tremendous. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Arsenal, and I love that Arsene Wenger era because not only were they great players, they were absolute shithousers as well. They had ability and they could put themselves about. Massive thing Arsenal are missing right now.
But Phil, do you know what's funny though? Do you know what's funny? I didn't see that.
Oh, it's
that was Wenger's fucking go-to comment. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, of course.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. He said that all the time.
He got Patrick Vieira get sent off how many times? Oh, I
didn't see it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Another player that he also brought in early on, who again nobody heard of, is Emmanuel Petit, who then went on 2 years later to score one of the goals in the World Cup final. Nobody really knew who he was. So again, and this again, Ange just got similar sort of, he's brought in players up to now who you haven't really heard of, but they came in and they've done a job. So I don't see us going out and going for big wholesale names, guys who are playing down the Premier League. We're going to get him for like £10 million and stuff. I think he's going to stick to what he's been doing so far. It's going to be very much utilising these unknown markets and nationalities we wouldn't even think of, because he'll know that this is exactly the guy. And I'm not going on reputation alone. I want the guy that's got the stats that can plug into this specific position. So I think he'll continue going down that route. And I think after the first year he's justified. I don't think any fan will question him. I don't think there'll be a sort of like, we should be going for bigger names. I think he's got a track record now and he's earned it. So I don't think anyone can question him at all. So yeah, I think we're just going to continue on that route.
Come to you on that, Terry. I've got a very interesting comment coming there for Patrick McLaughlin. The player row with Jock, he's obviously referring to Wim Jansen. Now, Wim Jansen obviously took Celtic again. It's another example. And this is why we love Celtic, because they put us to the brink and then we keep coming back. We keep rising and we don't die. We just get close to getting beat. And that's us. We keep coming back. We don't actually let our club die. Patrick McLaughlin is referring to the interference from Jock Brown. Screwed up Joe Venglos as well the first 3 months of charge. I've had a lot of interviews with Jock Brown talking about it. I don't think it was all him, by the way. I think he was very much like the football men do football. Let me try and do the business side. Are Celtic, do they genuinely, with the appointment of Lawwell, have they taken a step into familiarity to do more of the same that we've all seen before? Or is this a progressive appointment that's going to see this time, when we've got the opportunity, Celtic get their bounty of cash for the Champions League group stage and move on from it. Use it as a springboard, Terry, as opposed to being like a bank. Like, do you know what I mean? Like a piggy bank. That's almost what it was like a buffer, Terry, before. We qualified for the Champions League, yet budgeted for group stage Europa League football each of those seasons. We still do. That's the truth. I know this for a fact. Celtic budget for Europa League group stage football, anything on top's a bonus. Will this be the modernising of the club that has been drastically needed? We had 10-year. Yeah, go on.
The fear, Bhoycie, is that we're on to a winner with the manager here, and somewhere along the line, someone may balls this up for us as they have done in the past. In terms of the Lawwell appointment, I'm happy to run with the narrative that this is Ange's agreed to this one. This is his decision. I mean, if it was a jobs for the boys, Peter Lawwell was there for 17 years. He didn't bring this guy in at any stage in that 17 years where he could have done it any time. This is someone that Ange has worked with. I believe that this is a step in the right direction. In terms of identifying players and all of this kind of thing, I think this City group umbrella that we might be under, or kind of under, or sort of sticking our head under every now and again. I think all of that can only help us in terms of trying to bring in quality players from all parts of the world. Trying to read the comments there just while I'm chatting.
Mate, your Guinness is making everyone slaver. You know that.
I know it's one of those new night research things with the wee cap on top. Cracker.
How much are they?
25 notes for the wee cap, and you get special cans. They're £2 a can, but it gives you a pub Guinness as opposed to the old can with the widget.
That looks good. That looks good. I think we should be looking at Guinness to sponsor this. By the way, I'm telling you, why not?
But I think this time.
Yep.
The Celtic board are ready to move with the times. What's going to be interesting here, what plays out over the next few weeks, is if the side across the city do happen to win that Europa League and they go into the Champions League group stages and they then have access to 40 million, I think we know that they're going to go and spend that. Whether the face painter gets paid or not, they're going to go and spend. They're going to speculate.
That's what they do.
Yep.
And if we don't match that, there's every chance we're going to be left behind. So it's very, very interesting. In terms of, I think it's great from a Scottish football perspective that there's a team in the final.
You're not allowed to say that, mate. Honestly, you'd be amazed. You're not allowed to say that, Terry. You're not allowed to say that.
I'll say it. I don't mind.
Crazy. It's crazy because you'd be treated like you're not even a real Celtic fan saying that. And I think you're spot on, mate. This is healthy for Scottish football. The bar has been raised. My perspective is, and I'll come back to you, Terry, because I hate cutting folk off, but my perspective is, it fucks me off the fact that we've let them back into that position. What they've done is go, imagine if it had been us that had 9 years at the shots of Champions League qualifiers. Where would we be? They'd have left us in the dust, mate. We're not one regard for where Celtic were. I don't know why, as you pointed out already, we have had one eye on them the whole time through that period of dominance, and why we didn't just get into fifth gear, get the pedal at the metal, and just sprint clear. We have never believed. How many times, Terry? I'm going to come to you straight away. The financial disparity is just so much. Fuck that. I'm telling you right now, I watched Paul Hartley and Barry Robson play against the likes of, Seedorf, Kaka. I mean, the disparity is that is disparity. Do you know what I mean?
McManus and Gary Caldwell.
Do you know what I mean? Like that, like against Inzaghi. Trust me, the disparity is no different now to what it was then. But we've been preached this excuse about financial disparity, and I actually begin to now think, Terry, it's a load of bollocks. Do you think it's been proven wrong by the other lot's success?
To a certain degree, Bhoycie, I really admire their achievement, right? But I do think they have been lucky at times as well. They've carried a lot of luck. They got Dortmund when Haaland was out. You're playing Dortmund with Haaland in the team. That's a totally different proposition.
That's fair. That's fair.
I've said this before. This isn't just a one-off season. This has been happening ever since the embarrassing game in Luxembourg when Pedro was the manager. Ever since then, this has been building. They have been getting good results in Europe for 3 years now. So this isn't something that's just happened this one season. But my fear is not them winning the Europa League. My fear is them getting the 40 million next year and them gambling and speculating with that 40 million, whereas we perform our normal stunt and keep the balance sheets intact and don't match them. That's my big concern. So I think this game in a couple of weeks, whilst I'm not interested in it in terms of it, Celtic aren't playing. I'm interested in terms of if they get into that Champions League and they get that cash, I'm pretty sure they'll speculate. They'll not care who they still owe money to from years ago or whatever. They'll blow that and try to go to the next level. And we're then left with a decision. Do we do the same?
Do we stick or do we twist?
Do we double down?
Paul, do we back down or do we double down? Is it time for Celtic? We know Paul, we don't need to count in a final, right? The final's irrelevant to us, as Terry says. We've done it. We've done the hard work. Over 38 games. We've earned our 40 million crust, you know, and it's going to get us into the top table again. Do we want to compete that top table, or do we just want to be seen there? Because see, here's this eerie part. Let's say Terry's worst fears or my worst fears come true, and that result does go the way we don't want it to go in 2 weeks. They'll be in the pot one of a competition we're grateful to be in. Does that attitude need to change? Do you want to go back? We're talking about Martin O'Neill today. See, for me, I want to go back to Martin O'Neill, you know. I don't give a fuck whether Martin O'Neill spent loads of money. I don't give a fuck what Martin O'Neill, see what he did. He beat Bobby Pettigrew against the best teams in Europe, right? Didier Gak cost 35 grand. So don't piss me off that Martin O'Neill had to spend hundreds of money to get people. It was a mentality. And we decided we were going to be ready to compete against the big boys in Europe again. Are you ready, Paul, to compete with the big boys in Europe again?
I've always been ready. Of course, I'd rather be competing in Europe every season, even if there was one couple of seasons that we missed out in the league. As long as we went further in Europe every time. Like Angus always said, it's a stage by stage project. Sure. So I'd rather jump up that ladder than win the league every year until we get to where we want to be. Because everybody's turning around and saying about Rangers getting to the final and how good a job Gio's done. It's not been his team. That's been a team built by Gerrard for nearly 3 years. Gio's only brought in 3 players.
Sure.
So the core of that team has been with each other for 3 years. So of course they're going to be doing well. It's not a surprise that Rangers have got to the final. If you've had the core of that team there for that many years and playing together and getting used to each other, of course you're going to do well. And like I said, if we can keep the core of our players together with Ange as well, I can see us getting to the Europa League final. Not 1 year, I think plenty of times.
Yep. It's very important, Phil, that whatever it is we combine, you know, with the successes we have this season, is that we now back that. We now go, right, okay, what's next? I've spoken often about this, Phil. You're the same sort of vintage, shall we say, as me.
Yep.
And you've seen Celtic win, what, 15 league titles in your life, 16, maybe more than that. It was 20 league titles in your lifetime, I don't know. And so have I, and the Met Scottish Cups, over 10. Met League Cups, probably over 10. European final 1, and we lost it. I think it's time for us to start making our mark in Europe again. I believe, going back to the conversation we had maybe 45 minutes ago, you know, we've been on for nearly 2 hours.
It's a hell of a Sunday sesh, mate. Well, we're on 1 hour 48 now, so we'll try and round it at a nice 2 hours. We've got 12 minutes. We'll
right, okay.
Round it at 2 hours.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
The longest show of all time. But we've got to be looking at Europe. And again, I'll go back to it. It's so easy to be raging at Rangers and the Rick Seville. That's kind of not the football point I want to discuss. I want to talk about the football. I will look at the valuation they've put on players. I will look at the money they've spent. I know there's loads of debt, Primorial will tell you about. If you actually look at how much they paid for players, like Tavernier's the top scorer in that competition. It cost £250,000. You know, we've got to give kudos to shit like that, you know. And you go, it can be done. This financial disparity myth, I think they've blown it out the water. And I also think with Postecoglou, it gives you the vibe that, okay, I wasn't first choice, but you really think I've came here just to win SPFL trophies, Scottish Cups, League Cups? How many have you won so far? 1 million of each. Who cares? I want the big boy stuff. What did Jock Stein do? What did Martin O'Neill do? I think that's what he's wanting a part of, Phil, don't you?
I've agreed, like, regarding the European stuff this season, it just came too quickly. I agree with what you said earlier on about it could go the same trajectory as O'Neill, where he'll build towards it. You know, the first season, O'Neill knocked out by Bordeaux. You know, this season, we'll knocked out by Bordeaux going in Ange's first season, but progressively over the season, it'll get better. Sounds so much.
I think we're on the same, Ian.
Come on, Ian, pick yourself up. Come on, there's only about 10 minutes to go. Come
I
on.
think we're on the same, mate. Sorry, Phil. That just cracked me up.
It's all right, mate.
That's
Some of the comments have been good tonight. Really, really good.
Oh, it's been brilliant, mate. Carry on, Phil. Sorry, mate.
It's all right. I'm just saying,
Sorry,
like,
mate.
I could see a similar thing with what you said earlier on with like Neil and Ange just maybe going the same trajectory. You know, first season this came too quickly. Same happened to Martin and Neil. Next season it'll get progressively better. You know, Rangers got to the final this year. It's not going to be like we're going to get to the final next year. It's going to happen right away. It could be a slow build, but we need to just get to that level where we can compete. You know, it might be a bit of a slow burner, but we'll get there. I trust Ange will get us to a level where we are competing and we're not turning up and getting beat 7-0 by PSG or Barcelona or whoever it was, and PSG beats 5-0 at home. So yeah, I do trust the process as a, you know, they often say nowadays in modern football.
Adage. Yes, I mean, I know just Master Game, and I'm pretty sure he's a cream bun, but that's fine. Easton, the Bodo game didn't come too soon. Do you know what? I'm going to agree with him on that, Terry. I actually thought the Bodo Glimt came when we had our purple patch, if anything, in our league season this year. And yet we were found wanting by a team that, to be fair, we should be able to beat on paper. See, next year, we come head-to-head with a team of that sort of ilk. Whether they've got wins over Roma on their CV or not that year, we have to be putting them to bed, don't we? I actually think, Terry, as well, just very quickly, Celtic used to be notable for their scalps. When was the last time we had a European scalp? You know, a Scott McDonald last minute winner against AC Milan, a Nakamura free kick against Man United, you know, the 4-3 win against Juventus, you know, taking Valencia to penalty shootouts and stuff like that. Like, when was the last time we took a big team and we went, you know, we're game here, we're at that level? Is it time, Terry, for Celtic to look at teams like Bodo Glimt and start almost treating them with disrespect?
I think you're right in terms of it's far too long. What I was going to say was Bodo Glimt is also your mythbuster in terms of the achievement those guys have had. If we think we're on a small budget, if you look at those guys, what did we say? Was it a 6,000 seater stadium? Players just to gather up a free transfers. Do you know what I mean? And those guys fully deserve to put us out over two legs. Better team by far over the two legs. It can be done. I agree with Paul. If we can hold on to Ange, we can hold on to the crux of this group of players. I don't see us making inroads in the main Champions League competition. I do just think that's a bridge too far. I can't see us getting out of a group would be amazing in my book. I think at the top end, those teams have just got far too much financial muscle. Second competition down, yeah, absolutely. Third competition down, absolutely. There's no reason Europa League, Conference League, Celtic should be aiming for last 8. The top competition now, I do just think it's a bridge too far. I don't think I'll never see a day where Celtic win the Champions League again. I just can't see it.
The Champions League. But when you're looking at the example across the sign, you look at the teams they've beat.
Yeah.
Surely we should be using that as a motivation rather than being bitter. And that's what frustrates me. I love the battle. See the banter. I love the banter. But I'm not stuck. Like, I'm not covered in hate, by the way. I'm not going to congratulate them either on it because they won fuck all, right? But what I will say is, what they've done has whetted my appetite for what Celtic can do in Europe next year. In fact, it's pissed me off in a reflective mode, Paul, right? Because what have you made with Celtic in the last decade in Europe compared to what you're seeing Rangers have done? And what did you say, Terry? 3 good years. They've had 3 good years at football, and yet they're now already straight into a final European competition. I am not being negative about that, by the way. I'm just, from my point of view, we should surely to hell be going, where were we the last decade?
We should be in the position that they're in just now.
Yep.
And I'm not just
More than
talking this year, quite a number of years ago. We, honest to God, I still can't believe how far back we've went in Europe.
Weird.
Especially with some of the squads that we've had. You know, I just don't understand why we have not at least got to the latter stages in a number of the years. Genuinely.
Rangers are beating teams that they shouldn't be beating, and Celtic aren't beating the teams that they should be beating.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to come to Phil very quickly on this, right? Because I know we are approaching the 2 hour mark, and I know it's been great fun tonight. There's still 190 watching, by the way. Right?
Well done. Hanging in there.
Phil, I watched the first half, literally watched it, as opposed to, we then did the TNF on Thursday, and the second half, I just turned it off eventually. The Rangers game, not in a huff, just because the flashing lights were distracting me. What I noticed with Ibrox though was fucking hostile. Same to Martin O'Neill. I keep going back to this shit, but genuinely, and Strachan, let's say Strachan's here as well. Celtic Park was hostile. They did not know. Players didn't know what to do. I'm sorry. Celtic Park has become a tourist attraction for European clubs. They bring their fans and they all want to do selfies, half and half scarves. They all want to sing "You'll Never Walk Alone with Us Again." I'll tell you one of the big changes. So you get the Champions League anthem, but back in the day, or Europa League anthem, whatever you prefer, you used to be able to then still play a song over the PA before kickoff. I think that rule must have changed. Whereas that has to be the last thing played on the PA. So that lineup, when they're lining up and the orchestra's playing, or whether it's Europa League, Champions League, that plays, and then there seems to be this, we need to gather it from ourselves. Whereas before, what we do, that would play, and then it would go into the Celtic song. The place then goes bonkers again. I think Celtic need to try and adopt dirty tactics with regards to this again. We need to make it less of a tourist attraction and more of a force to be reckoned with. I've looked, honestly, watching the game, and I'm going, well, that stadium's a relic compared to Celtic Park. Yet it looks, and it does look like a fortress, to be fair. And you can see why players are intimidated when they go there. You see the mistakes top footballers at Leipzig were making. You can see it, and you can understand why they're making them. Can we not have that impact again in Europe as well?
I'm glad you brought up the T word, tourist. If you were going to come to me on this, I was afraid to use it because a lot of fans don't want to accept it. We talk about England, we talk about the tourist league of the Premier League and stuff like that, and we always think about how Scottish football, we've still got, so we're still, we're still grounded in our roots. But you are right. There is an element of that, and I feel like over the years, people have heard about the fabled Celtic Park atmosphere on a European night. And I do think a tourist element is creeping in, and I think we're losing a bit of teeth at home. And by the way, just to confirm as well, I know you say on this show we'd like to be ITK and stuff like that. I do actually have somebody that works in Celtic Park, and he told me that is a rule that UEFA did change. They did make that official.
I knew it! I knew that!
The person, I'm not going to name him, but know how there was a couple weeks ago on the Instagram account, somebody posted a picture of their wife with a fish at their dinner table. See that? The guy who accidentally posted that is a guy that I know. We're playing Xbox one night. He told me about that. The UEFA have got a rule in place where after their anthem, whether it's Champions League, Europa League, whatever, you can't play any other music. You've just got to let, I don't know what it is. So that's one of the pointless rules they brought in to add to many other ones. Like on European nights, the substitutes have to warm up at the same side of the park. Usually the away players will go and warm up at the Lisbon Lions end, and other players will warm up at the Jock Stein end. But on European nights, there's a wee official from UEFA that tells them, no, or both sets go down to the same end, and it's like, what's that even for? So UEFA have got some pointless rules. But yeah, the one about the music is actually true. That is one that they did bring in. I don't know what difference it makes and why they want it that way, but hey.
But it does make a difference. But do you know what? It's the same for both sides. But for whatever reason, I remember when O'Neill was in charge of those European nights, Terry, it was a fortress. You watched the big boys come to town, Terry, and they were feared. We made it a cauldron. Is it too friendly? Do we need to get a bit nastier?
It didn't matter who came, Bhoycie, to Celtic Park. I expected Celtic to win, and in most cases they did. It's probably 10 years since I felt like that, where it didn't matter. I was at the Barcelona game where Wanyama and Tony Watt scored. I've been at games against the English clubs, Liverpool. It didn't matter who came. It didn't matter who played for them. We were Celtic. We were at home. We expected to win that game. And yeah, that we haven't experienced that now for around about a decade. I don't know what the answer is, because I mean the support is probably just the exact same as it was. It's a strange one.
But
I
it
don't know.
did feel.
I can't put my finger on it, to be honest.
Aye, and I'm glad that you're saying that, Terry, because neither can I. But Paul, you're a season ticket holder. You go there. You're there every single game, European game, any league game, League Cups, Scottish Cups. You're there, mate, right? Why, as it became the thing that I think at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, Martin O'Neill was at some point like 15 to 20 games, if not more, unbeaten in Europe at home. I'm not even exaggerating. I think it was about 20 games or something unbeaten. Am I right? Someone quickly Google that. It was like 20 games unbeaten at home in Europe. Now, they come for the holiday. They come to get the selfies on the pitch. When they're doing the wee pre-match warm-up, they go, oh, we did Celtic Park, completed it. And they just get beat. Has Celtic Park lost its... Do you know that way? It's fucking... I don't know, I'm trying to talk to my hands here. But because I still feel like the Green Brigade's brought a lot to the table in terms of atmosphere. Of course they have. But they weren't there in the 2001, 2002, 2003 era. Was it more of a unified stadium then where someone starts singing, the whole ground starts singing? Are we now too reliant on one corner? Is that... I'm not being judgmental, by the way, because at the end of the day, if the Green Brigade don't do it, there could be an argument that, well, we all sit in silence. But is there almost now a bit of, we're not allowed to sing unless the Green Brigade start it? Is that maybe moved the goalposts? You'll know better than me, Paul.
That's exactly what it is. That's what it's been like that for a few years now, Bhoycie. It's been like that for a few years. It's just like in this. I'm actually right above the Green Brigade in the North Stand, and honest to God, it's the Green Brigade brings so much to that stadium. So much. But I just feel with the European nights now, like we said, it's a tourist place now. But could the Green Brigade, I know we're coming back to them again, but could the Green Brigade and the rest of the fans do something outside the ground that's going to be, I don't want to use the word hostile, but when the buses are away.
Like Liverpool-esque?
Yes, yeah.
I think we should champion stuff like that. Liverpool play within the rules, their fans. I mean, I think the first time it happened, it looked like it was all like, oh my God, what's happening here? But you know what? Let these fuckers know they're in Glasgow. Let them know they're coming to play the champions of the country.
Yep.
And if that means it doesn't all need to be in the Green Brigade. Celtic fans out there with the green smoke bombs. You know what I mean? All of that as the bus comes along, the opposition bus, let them know they're in for war. Not like, hey, by the way, there's my Kodak. Hey, go take that, mate. Hey, get me selfie with me as well. Here's my half and half scarf. Oh, brilliant to see you as well, mate.
Look how Parkhead looked when we won the league, when we won the treble, and look how that stadium looked and the roads leading to it as the bus was coming in, and how those players felt, and that was our players. You know what I mean? Can you imagine that on European nights? With not only the lead up to the stadium, but the actual roads leading up to the stadium on both sides, waiting for that bus coming. Can you imagine?
Mate. Bring that back, man.
It can be organised. It's like you said, it doesn't have to be just the Green Brigade. It can through social media, you can get the fans there more easily.
Why don't we just like face them head on? Like those sheriffs in town. The Bhoycie bus meets let's say it was Leipzig we were playing. The Leipzig, we just meet them head to head. You know what I mean? And we just like, I'm no backing down either. Like,
Bhoycie, can you imagine if the Bhoycie bus parked up just when the team bus is coming in? They see that the Bhoycie bus and all of us sitting on top.
I think though, I genuinely think Celtic though, like I know it's funny in that, but I think we do need to get a wee bit of a more narcissistic streak to us. I think Celtic's became a theme park for other clubs. You know, I was at Celtic, it was amazing. No. You came to Celtic Park and gave you hell, mate. That's what you want. You want guys that came, back in the 2000s era. I mean, I'll go back to like See that Milan team, Dida was claiming he got slapped off a fan. Now, whether he got slapped or not, a fan did come on the pitch and throw his arm at him, which is mad. I want them going back. I don't mean that as an example, but they're going back with stories going, wow, that is crazy there. You don't want to go there. They're nuts. Like, it's nuts. I think we've lost a bit of that, to be completely honest to you.
Bhoycie, see the nasty streak, though. You're talking about a nasty streak there in a good way. Can you see that nasty streak through the players that we've got at the moment?
No. And I think this is why we were talking about additions. That's a brilliant point, Terry. This is why I'm talking about additions to the team. Now, we know certain people watch the pod and they want to misquote you and they want to talk about, some people think Wanyama should be the answer. No one's ever said that on this pod, right? Rest assured. A Wanyama-esque, though?
Yes.
Yes, Terry. Because see, Wanyama, you forget when he was in that Celtic, he was a kid. He was a fucking kid. It was 2021. Remember when we signed, I'll tell you an example for me that I think we lack, the little tiger. And I always called him the little tiger, Beram Kyle. See, when he signed, he was 22, 23. Like, he wasn't the biggest physically, but he could impose himself on a game. And he wasn't about hacking, but it was about, if you boot me, I swear to God, I'll boot you harder. I do agree. I think Celtic lack a bit of that right now. And I think anyone who thinks Callum McGregor is your physical presence in midfield aren't paying attention enough. Because Rangers have had two draws against us in 90 minutes. One of them successful after the following 30. Obviously, the other one, the draw was like a defeat for them. But we didn't play for the draw in either game. Both games was very obvious, Terry, to me, that they know how to dig deeper than we can. We want to play the better football, yes. Sometimes Scottish football isn't as simple as that, is it, Terry?
Tonight's conversation, we've gone back to Martin's team quite a few times, and I'll go back to that again. And I think when you think back to Martin O'Neill's team, you think about the three big 6'4", 6'5" centre halves, Bobo, Malve, Aaron.
Yep.
Look beyond that, though. If you look at the likes of Sutton, Alan Thompson, Lennon, all of these guys were streetwise. These guys were tough competitors. I don't see anybody like that on the team.
Streetwise is the word. I don't want to interrupt you again, but carry this on. But that, you've just nailed it. In a nutshell, for me, that's the word. That's the wee spark that's missing in this team, Terry. Take it away.
We've got one.
Streetwise.
We've got one. Who is it?
Streetwise.
We talk about him on the bus all the time. We've given him a nice nickname.
Chaos, yes.
He would fit right into Martin O'Neill's team.
Yes.
Wouldn't he?
Yes, yes, and yes. Chaos Giakoumakis walks into O'Neill's squad.
Because he doesn't give a
fuck.
There you go. Reminds me of Sutton a wee bit in that. Sutton just didn't care. But what a clever football. Anybody that can play centre half, midfield and centre forward all to the same level is a superb footballer. Yet you wouldn't look at Chris Sutton and go, he was a superb footballer, but he had a brain. He was streetwise. He knew how to play the game. He knew how to get the best out of every single situation that he was involved in.
Sutton's my second favourite cell. Henrik's always everyone's number one. Sutton's my number two. Sutton went to Europe. I think folk forget, right? He'd beaten Bayern Munich with Norwich City. He'd won the Golden Boot in the English Premier League with Norwich City. He then won the Premier League title with Blackburn Rovers. He had one shite season. One. His credit was well in the bank. He came to us as a moody, temperamental striker. I'm like, you look at his. He's the equivalent of I don't know. I can't think of a comparison right now. But I mean, genuinely, he had 7-8 years EPL, literally being one of the best strikers in the league for 7-8 years. Comes to the club, and what he did, Terry, he made you believe, because he looked at Ayala, for example, at Valencia. He went, "You meant to be the hard man, are you?" Watch this show. You just grab him by the scuff, mate. Throw them a bit like rag dolls. Took the game to them. Now, I don't think it's ever going to be in the Ange Postecoglou mould, Phil, for us to play that sort of football. But could we mix it a wee bit? I think we could. There's David Kelly straight away. Ragdoll Thuram, remember that? I think Ayala was the best example because I remember there was a cross going in. I remember my dad saying to me, he goes, look at Sutton with that guy. And Sutton just stands back. He just takes his left foot back, stands on his toes. But you know that way he stood on his toes bad. And Ayala's like, and before the ball goes in, I went, that's clever. Very clever. Do we lack that streak, shall we say, Phil, in the team? Maybe would that be we're talking about final touches to the team. Obviously, Jota, CCV, and footballing terms, yes. But maybe the streak, the attitude Terry's talking about, we could bring that in, couldn't we?
Definitely could. It goes back to the very first time I appeared on the Bhoycie bus. We just lost to Bodo. One of the points I brought up is a thing that happens in European games a lot. Teams come to Celtic Park and their players are very streetwise. They're very good with they call it the dark arts in football, and it feels like our squad are always too nice and they take the bait. A player goes down, makes the most of it, make the injury and stuff like that, stays down, wee jabs here and there at set pieces, stuff like that, just wee things to rough us up. And it feels like our team for a while now has had too much of a nice streak in it. We definitely need that element because in Europe it'll happen again. So many teams from the continent will come and they'll play. It's not even just happens to just us. It happens to all teams from even England and Scotland. It just seems like a thing that in the whole sphere of like British football, we're like, no, we can't do that. We're not going to dive because even in England they make a big thing out of foreigners diving and stuff like that, but never their precious English players. Even though Harry Kane is one of the most streetwise players you'll ever watch. Watch what he does out in the park, but they always ignore it when he does it. Oh, no, not Harry Kane. Oh, no. But we need players in our squad that can match up to that because I'm fed up with teams always coming and, just casting that fishing line out and we just take the bait every time. We get flustered, throws us off our game. So we're going to need to fight fire with fire in that element and we definitely need to do it. And I think Ange will bring it in. I think he'll know stuff like that.
Me too.
Yep.
Paul, the beauty of what Phil's saying there is we're talking about adding to a championship winning team. This is the thing. We're talking about building from a position of strength. We've been over 2 hours now. We're going to round it up. But right now, is it fair to say, Paul, this season has surpassed all expectation? Is it time? We're thinking of what we could do in the future because we're not the manager. We're just fans. Let's look and reflect and appreciate the job the boys in green have done this season. Paul McFarlane.
This season has been absolutely amazing. What Ange has done to come in here, and it was a project like we always seen, but honest to God, this season has been amazing. We need to look back on this and state this was supposed to be the season where we won nothing. It's like you've always said and what Ange has said, it's always the second year when Ange finally done something with the team. But this season, definitely to win. I see when we won the League Cup, I was happy with that. Definitely. But see, to win the
League Cup,
just to win a trophy,
sure,
I was happy with that. But see, to actually win the league in our first year with the players that we brought in, and it's only took them a few months to come together as a team. I think it's been out of this world.
It's a surreal turnaround, Terry, Rob. It is a success story. This is the beautiful bit. We're going to sign off the show, Terry. I think you should do the closing note on the show just because you're good at talking shite, mate. That's what it's all about, by the way. But I think this season, we can sum it up in the sense that the League Championship title is done. The League Cup was done, and we proved trebles aren't for everyone. We've proven how difficult we actually see by not winning a treble this year. Don't ever think I don't want to win trophies or it's good that we didn't win trophies. I'm not an idiot. What I would say is it's made me appreciate the ones that we did a wee bit more. Not because I wanted us to lose the Scottish Cup semi-final, but I definitely think it gives you that bit of reflection going, jeez, that's never been easy. We've made it look easy. But Terry, take it away, mate. Where are Celtic going? Where is this bus heading? And What you up to?
What am I up to? I'm going to bed now to get up early for work in the morning.
Responsible.
Celtic are going the same way as the Bhoycie bus. We're going forward. We're going top speed. We're going to the next level. We're going to the fast lane. Hail, hail, the Celtics are here. What the hell do we care? What the hell do we care? Hail, hail, the Celtics are here. What the hell do we care now? Take her out.
Yes, Terry.
Too good. It's just too good. On that note, it's been 2 hours, 50 minutes. My name's Bhoycie. That's Phil McGinley. That's Paul McFarlane. Terry Robb. Take
What
it
a show.
Comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.